Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Lens of Truth with me, Ave Florentino. For today's video, it's the end of 2023, and as everyone knows, especially if you're a gamer, it's been a hell of a year when it comes to games. There's so many high quality games released on every platform, but here in this channel, especially the Nintendo Switch, I played so many games, it's ridiculous. Mainly some Switch games and a few PS4, PS5 games as well, and even some PC games. So in no particular order, here's my list of all the games that I played in 2023. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, hit that like button, ring the bell, because I'm almost at 300 subscribers thanks to you guys. So let's get to it. Alright, starting with one of the games that I was not expecting to play this year, my cousin let me borrow it, was Devil May Cry 5. And this I played the enhanced special edition for the PS5. And this was actually a short game. I played it I think on normal, and it was around 8 hours, and it was actually a fun time. It was a great hack and slash game with 3 playable characters that you switch between, and I still prefer Bayonetta, but this was actually a good game. The graphics were nice. It was a nice surprise. Now, one of the games on my bucket list to play was The Last of Us Part 2, and I waited until this year to play it. Although it was a fun game, the gameplay compared to Part 1 was a huge step up. The enemies and the way that you can exterminate the infected and the human characters, the stealth modes, it was brutal and very bloody. I felt like it was around 5 to 6 hours too long. It kept dragging on, and the controversial story, I felt like it could have been rearranged and it would have been less of a controversy for those fans who were used to the characters from part 1 without any spoilers. But all in all, the game looked amazing, the gameplay was great, but yeah, the game was a little bit too long for my taste. But I'm glad I played it. Now, one game that I held off on buying because of the price and also what people were talking about the length was Resident Evil 3 Remake. Now, this one, I bought it because it was on sale, I think for less than $15 on Steam. It was actually a fun time. It was a short game. It was under 6-7 hours. It was a very short game. I think I was around 5.5 hours when I finally completed it, but it was a fun game. But yeah, I would not have spent 60 on this game. There was a lot of cut content from the original, but for what it is, it was actually a fun time, a great action game, nice bosses, and the graphics were really, really good. So the next game on my list that I've been wanting to play ever since it released was Resident Evil Village. And I actually got the gold edition for the PS5, and this game was so good. I actually liked it a little bit better than Resident Evil 7. I played it for the most part in first person, but I did end up switching between the third person mode that came with the DLC. And that was actually a fun experience because it felt like a cross between RE7 and Resident Evil 4. I really love the open world sections with the village. The graphics look really great. It was a creepy game and a highly recommended title for all you Resident Evil fans. And if you haven't already checked it out, this is one not to miss, especially when the game is under $20. Now, for the last PS5 game on this list is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, when this game was announced, I was super excited because we finally had a next-gen game to play in one of my favorite GameCube games of all time. Resident Evil 4 blew it out of the water. The pacing was perfect, and I felt everything that they cut made up for it because it was well-paced, and all of the quality of life improvements compared to the first. For example, the tank controls are no longer here. You can actually aim and shoot while moving. The graphics look amazing. And the fact that they rearranged a lot of the areas, they're still familiar, but expanded upon them. Even several characters' backstories were expanded on and made even better. They fleshed them out completely. I had such a fun time playing this game, and the fact that we also got a free update with the Mercenaries mode, which is another way to extend the gameplay. This was another side mission that was in the original. And let's not forget the cherry on top, Ada's Separate Ways was also a paid DLC. It was a well executed and lengthy DLC that I'm surprised for the cheap price. I think it was only $10. Her story was well paced as well, with actually great music and some of the cut boss battles from the original game as well. And this is actually one of the best remakes I played in a long time. But 2023 was the year of remakes and remasters, so let me know down in the comments if you guys enjoyed Resident Evil 4. This is one of my favorite PS5 games I played this year. This game actually started off the year in 2023, back in January, around January, February. I was super excited to play another Fire Emblem game, and this game did not disappoint. So this game took it back to what made Fire Emblem special in the old school games, especially in the GBA era, was the graphics, art style, and level design. Although the social aspect is gone from Three Houses, which I actually didn't care for as much, and although the story is fairly weak for this installment, what made up for it was the fast-paced gameplay, the way you transition from the battlefield and into the battle mode was seamless, and controversial art style aside, this game is very pretty with the bold, bright colors. And after 75 hours of playing this game, I highly recommend it for any of you who like Fire Emblem. Now, another dual pack of remasters, remakes was Klonoa Phantasy Reverie Remake. So Klonoa Phantasy Reverie series for the Nintendo Switch was one of those games that I actually always saw on the PS1 and PS2. I never got to try them out, and I'm super glad that I did. This is a budget title, and when I bought it, and it was well worth it. I completed both games in around, I think, a month, and it was so fun. If you're a fan of platformers with a 2D, 3D art style that you can jump between foreground and background, this is a must-have Nintendo Switch game. Although it's very simplistic, this game is super charming, and it reminds me of those classic games from back in the Nintendo 64, PlayStation era that are adorable, and this one was actually still challenging towards the end. One of the games I do recommend is Part 2, which was on the PS2. It made the game even better than the original, and it was super fun. This is one, I know it came out in 2022, around late 2022, but because the DLC released with Rayman and the final wave, I was finally able to complete this game and go into the side missions, the side quests, and I put in over 85 hours in this game in total, and I had a fun time. So I do recommend this game for anyone who's into tactical RPGs, and because of the significant price drop, I feel like anyone should pick it up for a great adventure game. This game is also a beautiful looking game as well. The painterly style works for it, and there's a lot of difficulty options if you just want to get through the story and kind of make the gameplay a lot easier. Go ahead and check this game out. It's hilarious, it's fun to play, and highly recommended. Okay, another game that I sank so many hours into was Xenoblade Chronicles Future Redeemed, which is the expansion for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So Xenoblade Chronicles Future Redeemed is this huge expansion for the base game, and this is one of those games that I beat right before Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I had so much fun. If you guys are a fan of Xenoblade Chronicles, you guys have to play this game. I like the way that the story and characters change up the gameplay. Everything has been streamlined, but the story hits so hard, especially the ending. The great conclusion to this trilogy. So another double pack remastered game from the DS era and the Game Boy Advance era is Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. Although this game was delayed indefinitely for a long time, it did kind of hurt its sales, but if you're a fan of these type of strategy games, this game is like no other. It's charming. The way that they remade the graphics and art style is very adorable. It's still a hardcore tactical RPG. It gets really tough, but there's also an easy mode just to kind of reduce that type of stress you tend to get, especially towards the end. And one of the best things that they added was the animated cutscenes with these characters. That actually added a great flair to this game that was missing in the original. Although we did have static images of those characters, now they are brought back to life with this great animation style.
Green Earth Army has a CO power called Lightning Strike, which allows his units that have already acted to move again.
Now, one of the games that came out earlier this year was Octopath Traveler Part 2. And when I did buy this game, it was on sale, but I held off on it because there was so many games that came out this year. I was still playing through Tears of the Kingdom and Metroid Prime around that time, but I finally was able to put in a little over 25 hours as the recording of this video. But this is one of those games that, oh man, I'm sucked into the story right now. Every single character is written very well. The voice acting is amazing in both English and Japanese. The orchestrated music carries this game so much. It's a very beautiful game to watch and to listen to. If you're a fan of JRPGs, this is a must-play game. The pixel art somehow got even better. The story's even better than the original. This is one of those games that I actually think, besides Pikmin 4 and Tears of the Kingdom, this is up there in my game of the year for 2023. You guys have to play this game, Octopath Traveler 2. Alright, one of the games that surprised everyone when it was shadow dropped was Metroid Prime Remastered. This is one of those games that visually looks like the glimpse we're going to get for what Metroid Prime 4 might look like. And if they go for this realism, this high detailed, great lighting, music, and push it even more for hopefully the inevitable Switch 2 or successor, this is a great game for a 20-year-old GameCube classic. I think it's only around $40 and it is a budget title, but man, the high quality of the visuals, the amount of love and care that went into this classic highly rated game, you can tell just by the visuals alone, and the control options, this game plays very well. And the fact that the game runs at 900p at 60 frames per second, this is a must-have Nintendo Switch game. And although some of the Metroidvania style backtracking can get tedious because some of the level design, they lack some shortcuts that they refined in later installments, this is still one of those games that you guys have to play if you've never tried it out. Now, another game that I sank over 40 something hours into it, I think I was close to 50 hours, was Nier Automata, the End of Yora edition. This game not only looks amazing and it plays great on the Nintendo Switch, this is one of the best stories that I've heard in a long time when it comes to how people and cyborgs and this world deal with life and death. This is one of those stories that kept me hooked and I wanted to see what was going to happen all the way towards the very end. And again, the orchestrated music is beautiful, it's amazing. The switch between hack and slash, side-scrolling shooters, almost that shoot 'em up shmup style was actually fun and it took me by surprise. The huge boss battles really surprised me as well. This is one of those games that I had no idea what was going to happen, but once I beat it, I'm glad I did. Now, one of the games that surprised me the most when it was first announced is Bayonetta Origin. This Switch game not only looks beautiful, but the music is great, and it tells the story of Cereza, which is Bayonetta when she was a child, and no one expected this type of a side story to come out, especially with the type of game that Bayonetta is, which is typically an action hack and slash type of game. I felt like the storybook aesthetic carried this game along with the music and the great voice acting as well. And the way that you control Cereza and your demon with both joysticks and the gameplay mechanics actually felt different and fresh, and they could have pushed it a little bit more with the magic spells, but this is another game that you guys should check it out if you're a fan of the Bayonetta series. Alright, as a Nintendo fan, we've been waiting for Punch-Out to come out for a Nintendo Switch for a long time, since the Wii era. So along comes this game called Thunder Ray, which actually is almost like playing a bloodier version of Punch-Out. Although it's not long, just like Punch-Out, it's really good, but it's actually super difficult. And it's one of those games that you kind of have to memorize the patterns of the enemies, just like Punch-Out. But this game was so fun. It's very difficult. I just felt like it could have been pushed a little bit more because it is a short game. One of the things that I liked was just the different monster designs, the different opponents. It's not your standard boxing type of characters, and that was a thing that kind of drew me to this game. Especially the hand-drawn animations are amazing. They look gorgeous. Go ahead and check out this game. Alright, one of the best and biggest games for the Nintendo Switch was Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And because this game finally, aesthetically, has surpassed the new Super Mario Bros. Series into something special and something that you would find in the 3D Mario games when it comes to surprises, this game deserved that Game of the Year nomination that it did. And if you guys haven't played it, what are you guys doing? This game is super fun. The music, the surprises, the Wonder Flower gimmick, and you can also play online with random people, with their ghosts, and with friends. This is a must-have Nintendo Switch game. There are so many ideas that they threw in this game that not every level felt the same. There was a surprise at every corner, and the badge system just made this game a lot better. There's so many ways to tackle this game with those badges, the power-ups, and the Wonder Flower gimmick. It reminded me of Super Mario World for the Super NES. This is the whimsical type of thing that we wanted in the Super Mario series for years. Go ahead and check it out. Now, another huge game that people anticipated and been waiting for and finally released this year was The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And after 100 hours, I finally completed it, and I'm still playing it, and I will be playing it for a long time. This is one of those games that surprised me and actually surpassed Breath of the Wild for me and for a lot of people. With so many mechanics at play and the breakable weapon system, now you're able to fuse almost anything that you see in the world when it comes to animal parts, food, vegetables, and things like that. You can combine so many things. Everything is viable in this game, and the creativity and the freedom that you get in order to traverse the land is amazing. The dungeons are back. There's bosses, there's actually more music, and it does feel like the next step in the Zelda game. This is a beautiful game when it comes to the aesthetic, the art style, the cel-shaded graphics. It's beautiful and bright. The fact that you can jump from the sky to the ground and into the depths. There's so much to do in this game. This is one that you will not want to miss. When it was first shown off in the Nintendo Direct was Super Mario RPG Remake. So this is a game that people have been wanting since the Super Nintendo because it hasn't been available in the easiest way possible. Although you were able to play it on the Wii and the Wii U, I felt like after completing this game, this is the most accessible when it comes to the quality of life improvement, when it comes to the music, the battle system. There's brand new specials, the way that you attack. It's time-based, just like the original. And it is a simple RPG game, but this is one that you don't want to miss when it comes to the writing, the charming graphics and art style. They did a great job with this remake. And it's crazy to think that I'm reviewing and I've been playing Mario Kart 8 for almost 10 years. It's ridiculous that there's 96 tracks, almost 100, and the quality in the levels has been getting better and better with these remastered tracks that they've been adding. And if you have the Nintendo Switch Booster Course Pass, all of this is available to you right now. So this Booster Course Pass not only added so many new characters and 48 brand new tracks, this game now feels fresh. You can play this online. It's seamless. Go ahead and try it out. And I just can't wait to see what they do next for Mario Kart 9. Alright, so one of the things I did before Pikmin 4 released was actually play all the original Pikmin games, but I actually started off with Hey Pikmin for the 3DS. I know for a lot of years, people have said that this game was the worst in the series, and I do admit that this was actually the weakest one, but it is a completely different style of game as well. It was actually a decent game for a 2D side-scroller. It was very simple. Some areas were unfair, but for what it is, it's an okay game. I just felt like they could have pushed it a little bit more. Now, I also bought Pikmin 1 and 2 remastered, and this was an unexpected surprise, but I actually knew it would happen because I just felt like a lot of people needed to play these games, and they were actually released a few weeks before Pikmin 4 dropped. So as soon as they dropped digitally, I bought them, and these games are so good. And yes, they are somewhat dated for the GameCube, but the enhancements when it comes to the visuals were all there. It looked very clean and nice. Part 1 is a classic, and with the time limit that made the game stressful and fun, it was totally worth it. This is one game that you guys have to play. Now, Pikmin 2 was one of those games that I used to have back in the day. It is one of those Nintendo sequels that's considered the black sheep of the family, and it is a difficult, unfair game at times, but I remember putting in hours and I actually really enjoyed the cave areas. Although I'm close to completing the game, I still had fun for what it is. It's a completely different game. There's no time limit. It is a lot more difficult compared to the other games, but if you're into Pikmin, Part 1 and 2 for the Switch is a must-have game. Check them out. Now, this is one of my favorite games of 2023, and I'm not exaggerating. This is my highly anticipated game since it was announced, was Pikmin 4. Now, this game, all of us Pikmin fans have been waiting for years since Miyamoto talked about it back in the Wii U era. And when it finally was shown off last year, and now actually playing it, and I actually 100% of the game, this is my favorite Pikmin in the series, and I think it's neck and neck with Pikmin 3. Everything that they introduced in this game when it comes to the quality of life improvements, when it comes to the auto locking, which it did take me a while to get used to, the Dandori battles, the challenges, the brand new camera system in the game lets you view everything from a new perspective, and the game looks gorgeous. This is one of the best looking Nintendo Switch games ever, right next to Luigi's Mansion 3. The huge boss battles was a huge surprise. There's just so many things to do, so many things to upgrade, and the gameplay loop is amazing. So this is one of those games that minute for minute, hour for hour, I just had a smile on my face because it was just such a delight to play something like this when it comes to the art style and the realism, and it's mixed perfectly together. Anyone who's on the fence about playing this game, go download the demo on the eShop and give this game a shot. It's such a good game. It's a great adventure game. On top of that, it's a great strategy game as well. So this was my game of the year for 2023. Another huge surprise was F-Zero 99, and this, if you guys have the Nintendo Switch Online, you can go ahead and get this for free. And this is one of those games that surprised the heck out of everyone when it was released, and hopefully this is a step in the right direction for a brand new installment in the F-Zero series, because it's been missing in action for years since the GameCube F-Zero GX. So the way that this game is handled is brilliantly when you play with a lot of people, with actually 99 total players online. They introduced things from the original games like the spin attack and brand new mechanics like the sky rail. You guys have to check this game out. The difficulty does rank up, but this game has always been a difficult game to play, hard to master, but it is addicting. I've been playing it ever since it released, a few hours here and there, and I would highly recommend this game. Another game that I've been wanting to play forever, especially when the demo released a few months before, was Sea of Stars. And this Chrono Trigger inspired RPG actually surprised me because of the art style, the gameplay, and it's such a beautiful game to play. If you guys haven't already checked it out, go ahead and help out this indie company. This game is so fun. It's not that difficult. The gorgeous pixel art carries this game along with its music. There are just so many RPGs this year, especially on the Nintendo Switch. Although the battle system plays a lot like Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG, it was a fun time-based RPG game to play, and the battle mechanics are super addictive. So this was a huge year for gaming and video gamers in general. I had so much fun. I can't believe I played so many games this year. I put in so many hours. Let me know down in the comment section below what your top games are for this year, and if you have several Game of the Year favorites. So thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in 2024. Bye-bye.